52 Jokers, Episode 2. Sean Peabody, Washington.
Fire, I'm so tired, I'm stop, drop, and roll. Put a wet towel under the door. Don't pass it, I can't take it no more. Somebody take a trip down to the store.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are tonight's entertainment. I'm in the green room and I'm thinking, took the edge off, couple drinks in. Finally with my family, our bond is dysfunction. Then I hear my name, I get on stage and lights hit my face. Then butterflies do circulate and my heartbeat starts to race. This feeling, I missed it, though my insides are twisted. The crowd noise is vivid and laughter is addictive.
You smoke weed?
Oh yeah, just got me a new one today. I was sitting there like
this one.
See which one is that? The
Wait, that's Magnum?
yeah,
You got that too?
yeah.
Yeah, man, aren't these nice?
What the fuck is that? I bought this today. I bought this for like $20.
Yeah. My girlfriend, because mine, I have the pen, and then I got the charger. I was at work. I hate that. And I was like, started blinking, like, motherfucker, zone it inside and plug it. Charge don't match the pen.
Right.
I was all sad and shit. And she said, here you go. And I put this little thing on there, and it sucked it in there. I was like,
When I hit it, I was like, as soon as it dropped, it don't work. It don't
then
work.
you're like,
It works.
help! Life alert! I'm falling in the key. I can't breathe. All right, so Sean Peabody,
Sir,
22-year comedy veteran.
coming up on it. Yep, 2020, 22 years.
22 years. Where'd you start at? What city?
When I was in the military, I was kind of dared to go on stage. I used to teach marksmanship in the Marine Corps. And it was about 1998, I was teaching marksmanship, and one of the instructors on our course was a stand-up comedian out in Oceanside. And he noticed that some of my shooters were coming back like, oh yeah, Corporal Peabody tells these jokes when he's talking to us, and he tells us little stories, and he keeps us all like happy and stuff. So he went and watched me teach a class once. And he just kind of sat there watching me teach the class, and he noticed I did that. And when he had asked me, he was like, why are you telling jokes? I'm like, because these cats is walking around with loaded weapons. Like, I want to make sure they in the right state of mind when they come here. Like, I don't need them showing up and being like, yo, my neighbor and my wife, I just called him last night. I'm like, yeah, you don't need to have this M16 today. You just don't need to have it. So I was starting to teach. So he looked at me and he was like, he goes, I do a stand-up comedy show on a Thursday night. He goes, I have like 4 or 5 comedians that come down and go. He goes, do you want to try it? And I was like, what? So then like my whole unit was just, my Marine Corps unit was like, dude, do it, Peabody, do it. We'll all come out. So I'm at home trying to write down shit. I don't know what I'm writing. And I went to this place called the Firehouse in Oceanside, on Oceanside Boulevard.
In California?
Yeah. And I was stationed at Pendleton when I did it. But I went out there and I got on stage and I ate a big pile of shit.
Do you remember your first joke?
What the hell was it? I know I was,
See, you can't see him, but he's trying to act like he doesn't remember. Every comedian remembers that first shitty joke.
I was trying to think of which one went first. There was two of them.
He went back to back.
One was me talking about how the Smurf village, like, went down and everybody lost their jobs.
You were smoking weed back then, weren't you?
I wasn't. No, that's
what adds sadness to it. This is a sad story.
Then the other one was just how, why is the guy that's on the National Geographic that's commentating, narrating for animals, like, why is he always like some English guy or some guy with an accent? Like, why is he not somebody that could just talk to you regular or like a Snoop Dogg or something? But it was horrible. When I first went up, I asked the audience how they were doing 9 times in a row. Just how you doing? How you guys doing? How you doing? How's everybody doing? How you doing? How you doing? And then one dude in the back was like, fucking great. How are you? Come on, let's go. And he's like, oh, how are you? You know, I wasn't really worried about hecklers because, like, I had my whole Marine unit that was sitting right in the front row. So, I mean, if there was hecklers.
You brought your bouncers.
Oh, yeah, I brought mine. This is my first time going on stage.
Posse's on Broadway.
All I had to do was, they'd all stand up. But yeah, that's where I started. And then I did a couple of shows with that guy. His name is Melvin Jiggets from Southern California. And I did a couple of shows with him and then got out the military, went back north, went back home to the Bay Area, California, and then started working in construction and armored truck driving and passed an open mic. And it was about 99, 2000 almost. And I walked in there and started doing open mics and been going at it since. And ever since then, there's a place called Peabody in Fairfield. It burnt down in 2012. In Fairfield, in the Bay Area.
Oh, okay. And that's where Nagao Beelan is from, is that Bay Area? Is that where y'all met?
Sacramento. Yeah, and Gaio's from Sac. I used to live right down in right in the middle of downtown Sacramento. And I met him at Last Unlimited and Punchline at in Sacramento. And we started working together. They put me on one, and then of course it was just like at this point when I was into construction and all that at the same time. So yeah, I started smoking weed. I was out of the military. I started smoking weed, hooked up with a guy, and that just intensified.
Yeah, that's the weed fairy right there. He's just dropping weed on everybody.
Yeah,
here's some resin for you.
Try this.
No, that's not good for your personality. You need to. Because he's like, you read about him. And
his weed book that's out there in the Bay Area.
He's in all the weed books.
Yep.
He's a writer. He's got a whole resume of things, interesting things that a person would feel grateful if they could do one of those in their life.
Right.
But he's doing all kinds of. He's what do they call it? A Renaissance man.
But I started out in open mics. Then the owner down there at Pepper Bellies is who I ran with, and he kind of helped me get along with my comedy. Like, he gave me as much stage time as I needed, had me hosting his weekend shows.
Mm-hmm.
And I hosted weekend shows for years just to try to get the timing, how to learn how to put a show together, how a show's supposed to go together. The owner of there, he kept telling me to go clean. He goes, I want you to get 30 minutes clean before you write anything else. He goes, I want you to get 30 clean. And I was like, I just want to run with it. And he was like, look, just get 30 clean and keep that in your back pocket. And I got a good 30 clean, and I kept it in there. And I was like, kind of was like, why do I have this 30? And then like all these other shows that would pop up, church events, corporate gigs, things like that. I had a solid 30 to do all those. If I was on the radio or if I was on a TV station and they asked me about certain bits that I do, I could do 100% of my bits because they were clean enough to go. So it was like my exposure was what my clean, and that's what the comedy club owner was trying to tell me. He was like, he goes, in order for you to get your exposure big enough to where people will know who you are, you have to play in more places. Mm-hmm. But if your set's only designed to be a blues set, then some of the places where you can get a greater amount of exposure where you have to be clean, you're cutting yourself out of that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's easy to go from dirty or from clean to dirty. It's not easy to go from dirty to clean. He goes, it's not easy to take a dirty joke and make it clean. Mm-hmm. But to make a clean joke dirty, that's easy. Anybody, you can flip that easily. But he was like, get 30 clean. So I got 30 clean. But like me now, it's just, if I need to go clean, I will. But most of the time, I just go off of what everybody's feeling in the room. Yeah. And we just go. If they want to just be like, you know what, fuck it, go. And it's like, all right, then let's go.
You started like when you were 26?
Oh, let's see, 1998.
When did you do that in the Marines, that stand-up?
98. 98, and then I did it from 98 to 99 with that other corporal where we were playing in Carlsbad, we were playing in San Diego, we were playing in Temecula. We were playing just none of the big clubs, none of like the comedy stores or nothing like that, just like little spots like the Firehouse or, like little bars here, little places like that. And I just started doing that for a minute and then got out of the military, went back home, started working, and then got to an open mic. And then that open mic actually started opening up more doors because the owners were like, hey, do you want to open for this guy? Do you want to open for this guy?
Yeah,
you want to host for this? You want to host for this guy? And I got to meet all kind of folks. Gilbert Godfrey, got to work with Bobcat Goldthwait. Bruce, Eddie Griffin. I worked with Eddie Griffin. We did 12 shows. We did 6 shows per weekend. I did 2 weekends with him. Tommy Davidson, a couple of times. I was with Tommy.
Tommy Davidson is so stupid.
I opened. He came out to Idaho, to Boise, where I live at now. He came out a couple years ago out that way, and the owner of the club at Liquid Laughs, Jeremy, he was like, Sean, hey, man, he goes, I need somebody strong to open for Eddie. He was like, do you mind? He goes, I know you're a headliner and everything, and you do that. And I'm like, but I've never been like, I'm only a headliner. You need to only put me as a headliner. I don't give a fuck. I want to just play. I just want to have fun. If it means I just get a guest spot or whatever, I don't give a shit. I just want to have fun with the folks up there.
Do you think this, when you go to a comedy club, somebody says, come watch me this, and you're like, all right, I tell people to come watch me. I guess I got to go watch them. You get there, and you're sitting in the audience like, man, I need to get in this shit. It's like
I can't sit there.
Yeah, I cannot sit. I don't go to comedy clubs if I'm not in a show. I cannot sit there.
It's horrible.
Because I'm just kind of antsy, and I'm like, I need the mic.
Yeah, it's like taking a fat kid into a cake store and saying, you know what, just look, don't touch, you can't
ask for water.
Yeah, it's murder. Like I'll get itchy. I'll look like a crackhead.
No.
If I'm not going on stage, I'll stand there shaking and rocking and just give me the mic. Just
5 minutes. That's you don't want to headline. You just want 5 minutes.
Yeah. And that's most of the folks that I work with, and I think that's how my consistency of working with different clubs around the country have worked, is because I just want to work. Like I never pushed a booker to be like, you know what, you have to book me as a headliner. I'm a headliner. I know what I'm doing. Whatever has to be for the show. And I've been doing that to where, I've co-headlined, I've featured for folks who have started after me. It was like I've been in the game longer than them, but this is their headlining show and stuff, and they wanted me to be part of it. So that's their show. But yeah, sure, I'll open for you. I don't give a shit. Like I just want to have fun with it, and that's when the owner called me up and said, hey, do you mind opening for Eddie or for Tommy Davis? I was like, no, I'll open for Tommy back home. And then when I showed up, he was like, motherfucker, what you doing out here? I was like, we was in the Bay Area last time I see you. And I was like, I live out this way. But then, they called me up. I kicked it with Tommy. We were at Walgreens, and he was trying to pick up his prescription. So we walked in, and Tommy Davis is standing there, and he goes up, and he looks at me, and he goes, you think the lady's going to know who I am? And I was like, dude, we in Boise. Ain't nobody gonna know who you are unless you I don't know. Maybe.
He wants the chicken.
And he's standing there. And she's like, "Can I get your name?" And he's like, "Tommy Davidson." And she goes, "Is it Tommy or Thomas or Thompson?" He's like, "No, just Tommy. Tommy Davidson." Yeah, okay, here we go. Here's your stuff coming up right now. And he's like, "Huh." And then I'm trying to help him out. So I see. Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, the second one. And it's sitting right there.
And he was a little folded up.
So I grabbed the movie and I throw it on the counter. And I put it on the counter. And the lady looks, and I go, hey, Tommy, you seen this movie before? And he's like, he looks down, he goes, yeah. Quincy Ocha. And he says that as he's sitting there.
He don't know.
She looks and she goes, oh my God, that's one of my favorite movies. And you do it just like the guy in the movie. Do you know that? I took the movie. I said, you don't look at no, you dog.
You remember certain, because in the 90s, Def Comedy Jam, all that stuff. Yeah. And it was just like, man, I got introduced to so. I remember the first time I saw Bernie Mac, he came out there to that hostile crowd at Def Comedy. I ain't scared. And then my favorite joke, probably one of my top 10 jokes of all time, came from that set, where he said, one came up to me the other day and said, Bernie, does pussy taste like pumpkin pie? And he said, woman, don't ever ask me no question like that. You know I ain't never had no pumpkin pie. And it caught me off guard so bad that I couldn't breathe. And it was after every one of his punchlines in that set, he go, hit it or kick it. Like that, and Capri would hit the beat and he'd cut it and goes, I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
You know how he started, right?
With like into comedy?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Bernie Mac used to do, I was reading his autobiography. If you ever read his autobiography, it's great. He started on the L trains in Chicago. At a certain time, I think it was 9 p.m. The 9 p.m.
When he started?
Like he would take his show to the L trains.
So some people would play violins and shit, and he would just stand out there telling jokes.
He would take the back car, he would take the back car at a certain time, and if you caught that train at a certain time, which people started catching that train at that time, just to watch him do stand-up, and he would just do stand-up in the back of that car all the way through. He did that for years. And then he came in, got on time, got on the open mic, got through it, and started going to it. But that's where he started.
How old was he when he did that?
20.
Wow, that's some humility there.
Yeah, 24, 25, I think he was.
I was thinking if you were like 15 or something, you'd be like, this is the way I get to the club when I'm old enough. Yeah. I'll just get to walk in. But in your 20s and on a train.
He was hustling. Get your hustle on.
See, that's the thing I'm missing.
That's the thing that everybody is missing.
Well, I mean, there's certain people that are funny and they're also go-getters, like to the